Hey everyone, I just wanted to put this quick thing at the start of this video saying that this hot takes video is going to be split into multiple different parts. When I stood here to record the first round of hot takes, I only got to about 7 of them, and that's about maybe a third or a fourth of the hot takes that I got. And the video ended up being over 50 minutes long, or at least the raw. And I realized that if I have all the hot takes in one video, it's going to end up being 3 or 4 hours. And while I don't necessarily mind making a super long video like that, the hot takes aren't necessarily something that I would want to make into that 3 to 4 hour long video. So I'm just going to split it into multiple different parts that I will roll out over the next couple of weeks. Anyway, with that being said, here's some spicy takes. Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. It has been super hot here recently, but nothing quite as hot as these BCB hot takes you guys had for me. Because damn, there were some spicy takes in there, even for me. I mean, I am like the god king of unpopular opinions for this comic. And even I was like, damn, you really gonna come out here and say that out loud? But that is okay, because we're going to be taking a look at all of them and I'm going to be kind of going through them and responding. So let's hop right into it. I don't dislike David and I hope he and James get together. Also, I kind of like Eternal Flame. So I think David is a character that people on the whole do like. Saying that you don't dislike him isn't that much of a hot take, but it really depends on where in the community you are, because there are people that find him annoying. I find him incredibly annoying. I think also saying that, hoping that him and James get together, I mean, I hope that happens. And my reasoning or wanting for them to get together is 75% selfish. It's mainly because I really don't want David x Sue to be the endgame ship for those two, but also there is a significant part of me that's like, I really would like to see like a gay relationship. And I don't mean like Jessica and Madison, I mean like two guys being together, because Teshi constantly teases that with the male cast, like, oh, look how effeminate all these guys are. Ooh, they might have a crush on another guy, but she doesn't do anything with that. And so we might finally get that representation in the comic, and I think that would be nice. I actually don't know what the general consensus is between David and James as far as people wanting them to be together. I don't really see too many people talking about it, or at least I haven't really been paying attention, but I do hope it ends up happening. Sure, why not? It's one of those ships where I'm like, yeah, why not do that? Just, there's no real reason not to, so just play ball, let's do it. As far as kinda liking Eternal Flame, on its own, I think Eternal Flame is fine. It is a very dramatic, like, oh my god kind of chapter, but when you take it in the context of the rest of the comic, it is extremely frustrating. I think that there still could have been a lot of fun drama that you could have gotten out of seeing Mike and Lucy try to become friends again, but still very scared that the other is going to hurt the other. We are seeing some stuff now that is kind of interesting. Like, we have Mike spiraling down his super depressive Mike rabbit hole, I guess. He's feeling isolated, he's not eating, he's getting further isolated by people like Augustus telling him to not go outside because, you know, Lucy's out there and just leave her alone. And I guess Teshi really wants to explore PTSD. She's exploring Paisley, even though that could have happened in the other timeline where Mike did not go back with Sandy. So I guess the question you have to ask yourself is there anything happening right now that couldn't have been made possible had Mike and Sandy not gotten back together? And I think the biggest thing is just Mike being super depressed because he obviously knows he made the wrong decision, but he feels like he can't go back on it, even though he could just do that. He could just be like, sorry, Sandy, we can't do this. And he could go beep, hang up on Sandy and never think about it again. specifically for your reasoning for liking Eternal Flame, what about it do you like? For me, Eternal Flame was a very good point for the story to start turning into another direction that could have still produced some drama, but I mean, we are down the road we are, so we'll see where that leads us. Lucy wasn't always a bad character, and I liked her depression arc pre-catch-up. So when we're talking about a character being a bad character, whether it be Lucy or any other character in the comic, what specifically do you mean? Do you mean in a meta sense where like she's poorly written? Or do you mean in an in-universe sense where she is like a mean, bad character towards everyone else? Or maybe, you know, a little bit of both. I guess those things could go hand in hand. If we're talking about Lucy being a bad character in the meta sense, where she's just poorly written, I know a lot of people say she's a Mary Sue. This is something that I have gone over and over again about how I don't believe that she's a Mary Sue because bad things do happen to her, things that are kind of irreversible. And yes, there are things that should not have been irreversible, but you know, it's Teshi's world, it's her story, she can write it however she wants. And I know that's kind of a cop-out when it comes to like examining media, but it is still like a thing, right? How are we to say how a character should be or how story beats should play out, even though I just was talking about how I wish Eternal Flame had it gone the way it did, but it is what it is. Now, as far as her being a bad character in universe, she is very bitchy, she is very mean, and specifically when we're talking about her pre-catch-up, which is talking about her jump off of the building, or the stuff that happened before that, she has definitely changed between those 2 points. And what I mean by that is that she was bitchy and mean before because she was scared of her feelings for Mike. She was trying to hide her feelings for Mike because of Eternal Flame. We now know that is because she thought that Mike was still pining for Sandy after all this time, which clearly wasn't the case. And 2, when she comes back from her aunt's place, she is bitchy because 1, she's still reeling from Mike's complete betrayal in December, but also she's dealing with these PTSD dreams that she's been having, or just generally during the day, where she is being sent back in her mind to that night in confrontation when she got beat up by Alejandro in the alleyway, and also much worse than that. So is she a bad character? It's hard to say because she's still struggling with things. It's just the things that she's struggling with are very different. Lucy was very sympathetic in her depression arc, and this is one of the best things that Teshi has ever written, at least drama-wise, where you have a character that was always bitchy and grouchy and mean, trying to actively become a better person for another person, and that other person has already decided they want nothing to do with them. It is the tragic irony of Lucy becoming the girl that Mike had always wanted her to be, but now Mike just wants nothing to do with her. And after the whole freak out that Mike has in December, the freaking spurg out, it turns her into like a completely different character than we've ever seen her, because now with the new stuff that's happening, it's her just kind of doubling down. Haha, get it? Doubling down and just kind of being mean and angry at people all the time. And I'm not saying that she isn't justified or it's not understandable, but I am saying that people might find it a little bit less sympathetic now than her being upset or depressed before, because she's clearly going through some sort of depression now. 1. Lucy ruined the comic by never changing and growing. Everyone always loves her no matter what she does, which is stupid, hollow, and infuriating. The stuff with Augustus was interesting, but everything else has been utter nonsense. I still maintain my worst rage quit moment from the comic was when she bullied Paulo into going to Daisy's birthday party. That was absolute BS, and it still pisses me off. So I did just talk about this a little bit, but I guess I'll go into a little bit more depth on that argument. Lucy never changes. What do we mean by this? Well, Lucy has consistently been a bitch, except for the brief period of time where she was actively trying to be nicer, and then she started to get depressed because Mike had his freak out in December. So you have 2 different Lucys, the way that I view it. you have the Lucy pre-suicide, and we have the Lucy that came back from her aunt. But still, Lucy is being standoffish for two completely different reasons. She has undergone a change, and I think there are some positive things that are there. It's just hidden behind all of that anger and bitchiness. And let me explain. So at the start of the comic, Lucy is very standoffish because, one, people catcall her all the time. Haha, she's a cat, but you know what I mean. She is also scared of her feelings for Mike, and she's trying to hide her feelings for Mike by being mean to him. Well, when she comes back, she's standoffish because, one, she feels like her friends didn't really care about her, or they weren't there for her, and two, because she's having these issues with PTSD. She did change. It's not like a super outward change, not like a total personality change, but she has changed in the sense of her anger and resentment is coming from two different places. However, now Lucy does appear to be a little bit more independent as she is going out to do things by herself. So I think Lucy has definitely changed, but I understand why people think she hasn't. She has changed. It's just things that are going on under the surface that aren't like outwardly apparent. But I do understand people wanting to see her just be nicer. As far as the stuff with Augustus being interesting, I don't know specifically what you mean. If you mean as far as Augustus, the character, and his character arc being interesting, or you mean specifically Augustus and Lucy doing stuff being interesting. In either case, I don't know if that's really a hot take. I think people generally like Augustus, maybe not as much anymore. I think the general consensus as of right now is that Augustus has gone a little bit too far as like telling Mike that he can't like go outside and practice track during lunch because Lucy's out there. I do think that's absurd, and I'll talk about that more when I do the review for First Degree Burn, although depending on when this video comes up, you'll have already seen that. Or maybe you haven't, I don't know. But point is that I feel like saying Augustus stuff is interesting is not much of a hot take, but I guess it really depends on what you mean by that. As far as the rage quit moment where Lucy bullies Paulo into going to Daisy's birthday party, it is understandable. Here's the thing, BCB does have a tonal problem, and a lot of it stems from how things were in like volume 1 and even some in volume 2 and volume 3, where volume 1 was a lot more freer and wackier, and the violence was used as like a slapsticky punchline, quite literally in some cases. And Teshi wanted to later retroactively say that, oh, all of that was actually supposed to be taken seriously, and she doesn't really like change how it's painted or portrayed in the original volume 1. Even with the redraws and the rewrites, it's still portrayed as like a slapsticky thing, like haha hee hee funny Looney Tunes type shit. With her wanting to like make that be like, oh, that was actually supposed to be serious, that's fine. And when Lucy comes back from her aunt, she's like, oh, I'm not going to do that stuff anymore. But for Teshi to turn around and have Lucy do the slapsticky violence thing for After You to get Paulo to go to Daisy's party, it does present a pretty rough tonal shift. It's like a slap in the face to the reader, because it had been proven that Lucy was not going to express herself in violent ways, but well, now she is again for one joke, even though the whole point of everything that has happened since volume 1 was to show that that stuff was not supposed to be a joke. And now Lucy's just kind of getting away with doing that again. It's not necessarily a bad moment in isolation, as far as like, haha, she's pressing him up against the gondola of the Ferris wheel, and she's like, oh, you better go to the thing. And I think that's kind of where that frustration of Lucy hasn't changed comes from. I know I'm playing devil's advocate, but it is just the one moment where she does that and it's used as like a punchline, and it really hasn't happened since, and it really didn't happen before then. So I don't know, maybe give the comic another chance. I swear that she doesn't use the violence and the abuse and the abrasiveness as like a punchline anymore after that.